What's going on, everyone? Welcome to this week's video. Welcome back to the Wolf Coffee channel. Today we're going to do something we haven't done for a little while for you, which normally we like to unbox new things and kind of play around with new and exciting equipment. But just for something different, I'm actually going to go ahead and unbox something that you may have seen before. So let's get that out now. Whoa. Today, I'm unboxing something we've used before and have used for many years because I still love them and I want to show you exactly why. This here is a Maza Koni. This is the standard Maza Koni. This is not the Koni S. This one has just been sent up to us by the guys at AMC, so thank you for sending that up. And today we're going to kind of go through what's in the box, what do you get when you first get a Maza, and why are they so brilliant and have been around for so long as an amazing standard within our industry. So let's get this cut open and take a look at what's inside. All right, so off the bat, a couple of things that come at the top of the box. So we've got our little plate here, which catches all the grinds. If you do want to put them in front of your grinder, I know a lot of people have been throwing these out because of the fact that when you have things like tamp mats, you can't really do both, but these are really good to have. They do allow for the catchment of the excess. You can use that excess for things at the end of the day, like if your cafe would like to produce something like a coffee scrub. Some people like to put them into a bag and donate them to anyone who wants to use it for their gardens. So don't throw out the catchments. They are a really good thing to have. You've got your manual up the top here as well in a whole bunch of different languages, necessary for the setups if you don't know how to set one of these grinders up, but we'll go through that in a moment. You'll need a couple of these little bits and pieces, so you'll definitely need this guy here. This is the kind of adjustment holder. So you do need that. Couple bits and pieces here which, I mean, look, they're an amazing addition to the grinder, especially if you've bought the grinder. It is nice to kind of have it thrown in. We don't personally use these either in-house or in any accounts, but look, it is nice that you get thrown in a small bagged tamp, and that is 2 different sizes on either side of the tamp, so you can use them, especially if you bought this for home, free tamp, really. And then on top of that, you've got this guy here, which is a little holster. Again, generally these are thrown out, but you know, it is something different, something nice, and it's cool that it's there. Now, as we pull off the next part, then we enter into the actual grinder. Now, I can't stress this enough, if you are ever going to take one of these apart, hang on to the box. Hang on to kind of the foam inserts that come with it. From a personal level, I, many years ago, shipped one of these grinders to someone who bought it directly off me, and I kind of forgot to bubble wrap the hopper, and without the foam, without the bubble wrap, it very quickly showed up on the other side, broken into a million pieces. So think ahead if you're ever going to move things around, if you're ever going to go from one venue to another or ship it to someone, it's very handy to have kind of the foam inlays that hold all of this in place. Now, this is your hopper here. This has been wrapped already, so I'm going to pull that out. This is the first and only time you are going to see this with no coffee oils on it. It is very pretty. It's a beautiful sight, and it's a shame that it's not going to stay like this, but hey, you know, that's the joys of coffee. It just kind of gets everywhere. And then lastly, we have the grinder. Now this one we've gotten in as a white, I think it's a pearl white choice. I believe on the box it's listed as a Koni Bianco, and that's what they're referring to as the white color. So we're going to pull this out and we're going to start putting it together. All right, so now we've kind of got parts of it together. Next stage, you're going to take this little screw and you're just going to put it into any side, really. Now, this is the initial setups of these grinders, and I'll kind of go through what's kind of incorporated with a Maza grinder. So the benefit there being of these grinders is it's a conical burr set, 63 millimeter. They are one of the most reliable grinders you will ever lay your eyes on or ever use. What I still love about these as a standard grinder, without going into things like the Koni S, moving over to Compax or Malkoenigs or any other grinder brand, is that at the end of the day, these have never really failed us. You don't have things like capacitors that run out of battery power and need a new capacitor, things like the bearings wearing down that you sometimes see on things like Mythos's. These grinders, I can, as a Brisbane roaster, comfortably put them into cafes and partners of ours in Sydney or Melbourne or up in Mackay or Mount Isa, and they will just keep running and running and running, and they never really fail, or at least not in any way that's catastrophic to the business or going to kind of cause issues down the line. They just keep going. The kind of grindability of these grinders on the Conies, your kind of run time in order to get, say, a 20-gram dose, is sitting around that 6-7 second mark. So look, it's not the fastest. You're not going to get a 3-second grind time like you might on an E80, but it's certainly much quicker than things like the Super Jollies in this range, and it's just reliable. And I mean, looking at it in kind of this pearl white color, it's astounding. Now, the initial setup you're going to go through on a grinder like this, we actually get calls sometimes during the course of people's operations where they're saying, hey, came in this morning and all of the lights and the numbers that normally appear on this little faceplate here, there's nothing going on. There's no numbers. What have I done wrong? And first question is always, is the hopper on the grinder? Because if they're telling us that the little green light's on, meaning that there is life in the grinder, but the numbers aren't appearing, we generally ask, it's a very silly question, like, have you turned it off and on again? But at that point in time, often the answer is, oh no, I'm just cleaning it, it's in the dishwasher. And one of the best parts about these grinders is, as a safety mechanism to prevent you putting your hands into the grinder while it's active, is unless you have the hopper attached to the grinder, the numbers will not appear. So the moment you take this off, the numbers disappear, and it's a really good system to not only prevent people from hurting themselves, but just as kind of a safety overall. So make sure that that's in before you go placing calls and going, oh my goodness, something's wrong, because that is absolutely a feature. Now, when you get a new grinder like this out the box, you will want to put a couple of kilos through it. I know it seems like wastage, but again, hey, make coffee scrub out of it. But in order to season those burrs and make the blades that little bit more dull, that little bit more consistent, what you might find is over the first 1 to 2 kilos is that you're going to get a decent amount of variance. So you're trying to get shots to run at 27 to 30 seconds, and you might get 128, and then it drops down to, say, a 25, and then up to a 32, and you're kind of jumping around a little bit. The first couple of kilos will help settle that down. So you can absolutely use those grinds to season your machine if you happen to have bought a new machine at the same time, but just understand that there's going to be a little bit of a regulation just at the beginning. Once you've got it all up and running, once you've gotten those doses done, at that point you're going to go through the settings here on the digital touchpad in order to make sure that it's dosing you the actual dose that you want. And the way you do that is you basically hold down the menu button until it starts flashing some little numbers at you. So I'll go ahead and do that now. So we pop our hopper on, we give life to our little screen here. Now these numbers here are basically an indication of how many times the buttons have been pressed and a general indication of the rotation of those burrs. The left button here, you press that and it will go up by 1. Right button, press that, it goes up by 2. It's not an indication to me as a roaster or as a service technician that I need to come change the burrs when it gets to 999 and rolls back over to 0. It really means nothing. Take a photo of it when it gets to your birthday and put it on Instagram, but it doesn't otherwise give me any indication of something needing doing with the grinder. But once we've gotten our dose right, we basically hold down our menu here till we get the little numbers flashing at us. Once we get that, we select which dose we want to change. So say I'm always doing the same dose for the same handle, so we'll select our double dose. And this number here indicates how long that button will grind for. So in this case, 5.4 seconds, at which point we're going to either scroll it up or down, and it goes up and down by 0.5 of a second, and then we set it to what we want, hold down your menu button again, till it sets it in place, and from now on that will then grind for that amount of time. So if you find that that is an appropriate amount of time, say 19 grams, you may only need to bring it up by about 0.1, maybe 0.2 in order to get to that 20 grams, because you are only playing within about 5 seconds at that point in time, so it's not very long. And that is our Coney grinder. Play around with them. I think they are fantastic. There is a reason why this company has been producing these for so many years. They have been a staple of our industry, and I love them for the fact that they are so difficult to break, and they produce such consistent and quality flavored coffee. It's just an amazing standard. Whenever we're doing new coffees, kind of talking about new single origins or new seasonals or new blends, we'll often run them through one of these as kind of a flat standard. This is what this coffee is going to taste like in a whole bunch of our partners and accounts. This is what it's going to taste like here in our roastery and on our bar when we use it, because this is a good standard for the flavor of coffee, for the way we can produce it. So this is why we love Mazes, and this is why I'm going to continue using them until they take these away from us and move on to the Koni S2 or whatever might come next. But if you do get your hands on one, have a play with it, leave a comment below what kind of grinders you like, because we love to hear from everyone of what are you using now, what are you going to use tomorrow, and whether or not you'd like to see us do something different and try a new grinder on the next one. But otherwise, thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.